that modern Western civilization didn't drop out of the sky. Modern Western civilization came to the world as a test and a trial for us. It was the mother of all tests, and used the guidance which came from Nabi Muhammad ﷺ to understand this civilization and to respond to it authentically. And the world of Islamic scholarship has never done that. It is the living shame and disgrace of this ummah that up to today the world of Islamic scholarship appears incapable of even understanding, far less responding to the test and trial of modern Western civilization. They don't even know how to turn to the Quran to understand it. That's the pathetic state in which we live today. If I never get the chance to come back again to talk to you, I leave this message, a bitter message, with you. So then, if these are the Christians with whom we are prohibited from maintaining friendship and alliance, who are the Christians who will be closest in love and affection for us? I turn now to Surah Rum. It's a whole surah of the Quran, and its name Rum. Rum. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins this surah as He began the Quran, Alif Lam Mim. This is how He began Surah Al-Baqarah, and this is how He begins Surah Al-Rum. And then He went on to say, Ghulibatir Rum, that Rome has been defeated. Fi adna al-ard, in a land close by. وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ. But Allah said, wait, they're going to be victorious after this defeat. Not only that, the Quran went on to say, فِي بِضْعِ سِنِينَ, in just a few years' time. So the Quraysh, who were identifying with the Persian Empire, because they both had idolatry, the Quraysh was celebrating the defeat of Rome, because Rome was Christian, and this new religion in Mecca is similar to that religion. So when the Quraysh heard this came down in the Quran, they were laughing. But Abu Bakr as-Siddiq couldn't take it. He defended the Quran. Do you want to take a bet? A bet? Yes. Abu Bakr said, I'll take the bet. So they made a bet. What's the Bahasa word for bet? A bet. Huh? Markaruhan. Okay. A bet. And then when the Prophet heard, he said, no, Abu Bakr, change the bet. Change it. Why? He says, Bid'i Sinin, fi Bid'i Sinin means between 3 and 9 years. The Quran is saying that Rome will defeat, within 3 or 9 years, defeat the Persian Empire. So Abu Bakr Siddiq changed the bet. And within that span of time, yes, it came to pass. And Rome defeated the Persian Empire. So who was Rome? Rome was Constantinople. Rome was Constantinople. Constantinople had become a Christian city. And there is Constantinople in the Quran. Read this book, it has just been published. So Abu Bakr won the bet. But then the Quran went on to say, Alif Lam Mim غُلِبَتِ الرُّومُ في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين لله الأمر من قبل ومن بعد ويومئذ يفرح المؤمنون. The language here is linked, it is very, very, very carefully worded. But the schoolboy just reads through it. But you will now study it carefully. That Allah is the one who decides on victory. He has taken the decision for Rome to be victorious. But he speaks of 2 victories, not 1. And he said about the first victory, which occurred in the lifetime of Nabi Muhammad. He says, Min qabl. This victory occurs before. Before can have meaning only if it is before something. It has to be before something. So the first victory will take place before something. وَمِن بَعْدٍ. And then a second victory will come for Rome. And that second victory will come after that something. So there's something in between the 2. And our mufassirun of the Quran, it escaped their attention. Yes. And they concluded, many of them, that the second victory has nothing to do with Rome. The second victory, they said, is Fathu Makkah. No, you made a mistake. Both victories are victories of Rome. You have no right to turn away from the context of the Quran. And so there now remains the question what it is that stands in between the 2. You have to do your homework. Allah says that He sent the Quran لِقَوْمِ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, to people who think. Yes, by all means, eat your musam king durian, it's tasty, but you must take some time to think. And there is a methodology for thinking. And the Quran teaches you how to think, but we don't have the time to share that with you today. So what is in between? In this book, if you read it, it explains to you what is in between, because we don't have the time to do it now. So there is a second victory for Rome, which is coming. So who is Rome? Who is Rome? Now you can understand that the reason why there is a conquest of Constantinople in Akhirul Zaman is because it is connected with Rome and with the second victory of Rome. The conquest of Constantinople, prophesied by Nabi Muhammad ﷺ, takes place after the Malhama. Do you remember? But in 1452, the Ottoman Empire defeated Constantinople. And the Sultan who conquered Constantinople, Sultan Muhammad Fatih, he was hailed as the man who was the Prophet praised, because the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam said, لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُنْسْتَنْتِنِيَّةِ, you will most certainly conquer Constantinople. وَلَنِعْمَ الْأَمِيرُ آمِرُهَا وَلَنِعْمَ الْجَيْشُ ذَلِكَ الْجَيْشُ. And he praised the commander, and he praised the army. So the world of Islam, mostly the Turkish world, declared that Sultan Muhammad Fatih is the man praised by the Prophet. And therefore this is the conquest of Constantinople prophesied by Nabi Muhammad. But they had a little problem. The little problem is the conquest of Constantinople prophesied by Nabi Muhammad takes place after the Malhama. And the Malhama has not yet taken place. Huh? Do you need a PhD to understand that that could not be the conquest of Constantinople? No. Prophesied by the Prophet. There's another one coming. And when he conquered Constantinople, how did he do it? Allah says in the Quran, but perhaps the Ottoman Empire never studied the Quran. They were too busy waging bogus jihad to study the Quran. These are bitter words from my lips. Allah says in the Quran, if the force you are fighting against, your enemy, if they incline to peace, they don't want war, the Quran orders you, you must reciprocate. You cannot wage war on an enemy who wants peace. The Orthodox Christian Patriarch of Constantinople, he had about 7,000 or 8,000 men to defend the city. And the Ottoman army surrounded him with 200,000 men. Yeah. And he was asking for peace. The Ottoman Sultan took the Quran and put it away and went ahead and waged war in violation of Allah's command in the Quran. When I went to Moscow, and when I went to Belgrade, when I went to the Orthodox Christian world, and I explained that to them, they were surprised. No one ever told them that what the Ottoman Sultan did in 1452 is condemned in the Quran. They were surprised. And now they have more respect for the Quran. And then when he conquered Constantinople, what's the first thing that he did? Allah says in Surah Al-Hajj that you have a duty to fight this ummah, to protect the church, and protect the cathedral, and protect the synagogue, the Jewish synagogue, and protect the masjid. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْدَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعُ وَبِيعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدٌ يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا. So the Sultan should have protected Hagia Sophia, the greatest cathedral of the Orthodox Christian world, and it had remained the greatest cathedral for 1,000 years. What did he do? He took the cathedral of Hagia Sophia and he converted it into a masjid. It was shameful. It was disgraceful. It was manifestly sinful. And Imran doesn't care 2 peanuts if the Turkish people are annoyed with me. And their leader is annoyed. I don't care 2 peanuts for them. Because the truth which is in the Quran must prevail. You can't stop it. And so now we can understand that the conquest of Constantinople in Akhir Zaman has a role to play of absolutely strategic importance. NATO cannot stop it. No. What is it? When we conquer Constantinople after the Malhama, we will return Hagia Sophia to the Christian world. We will say, this is your cathedral. We will apologize to them that it was transformed into a masjid and remain like that until Mustafa Kemal added some salt to the wound and took the house of God and made it a museum. And when we hand over Hagia Sophia to the Christian world, we'll do something else. It is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If he referred to a city by a name, then it is sunnah for us to use that name. And he just did it. He said, لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُنْسْتَنْتِنِيَّةِ. So he used the name Constantinople. If he used the name Constantinople, Mustafa Kemal cannot stop us. And so the name of the city will be restored to Constantinople. When they heard that in Moscow, when they heard that in Belgrade, and it spread through the Orthodox Christian world, it reached to Greek. It was like fire spreading. Is this in the Quran? Will this really happen? And their feelings towards Islam were constantly now changing. And now they're drawing closer to us in love and affection. And so now we conclude, because our time is up. There's much more to the subject. Yes, much more. But we can't do everything in one lecture. The strategic importance of the conquest of Constantinople in Akhir Zaman and the declaration in the Quran that a Christian people will draw closest in love and affection for you is that when we conquer Constantinople and we return Hagia Sophia to them, and the Turkish president cannot stop us, and we restore the name of the city to Constantinople, it will pave the way for reconciliation, because the Ottoman Empire waged bogus jihad on the Christians for 600 years. There's a river of blood out there. So it will pave the way, making it possible for reconciliation, friendship and alliance between the true ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, not those who have their Qibla in Washington, and not those sitting on the fence. The true ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam and the true ummah of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, these two will come together in friendship and alliance. I wish I could take you to more verses of the Quran. You would be delighted to hear what the Quran has to say, but I have said enough. Whatever I did not have the time to say after the conquest of Constantinople, at that time you will have the Khuruj of Dajjal appearing in human form. And that is the greatest fitna that mankind will ever experience from the time of Adam alayhi salam to the last day. So you need to read on Dajjal. I have written 2 books already on Dajjal. This one, Dajjal, the Quran, and Awwal Zaman, and we have this in Bahasa. And this is my last book, just written now. The Quran, Dajjal, and the Jasad. There are other books to be written. The reason why I left Malaysia 3 years ago, I left, was because I couldn't get time to write books. Too busy here. So I left and I went back to the Caribbean island of Trinidad, close to Venezuela. And I have been writing my books since then. The time I did not have to explain to you. You can get the rest of the information and knowledge from the books which are at the back. And may Allah bless you now if you ensure that your children learn to recite the Quran by age 7 from cover to cover, and that your children by age 10 should be reciting the whole Quran from cover to cover once a month. If you do that, mashallah, you have something lying ahead. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
إلهي لست للفردوس أعلى ولا أقوى على نار الجحيم. الله فهب لي توبة واغفر ذنوبي فإنك غافر الذنب العظيم. إلهي لست للفردوس أعلى ولا أقوى على نار الجحيم. الله فهب لي توبة